Question number 12 here, asking us to do amplitude, period, and phase shift. So we do need to remember from this one the basic setup for sine. A is our amplitude, so we're going to have 2 sine. So the 2 is our amplitude. So we'll go ahead and put that part in. Now this inside needs to be factored out. We need to have it as just x, so the b comes out. So what's in front of the x? It's a 4. So we factor that out. And if we factor a 4 out of the pi, well, there's no 4 to factor out there. Well, think about if I were to multiply back through, how would I get just pi? Well, if I multiply this by 4, I get 4 pi. That's not what I have. So I have to divide by 4. So now when I take 4 divided by 4, that cancels, and I'll have just my pi. So that's going to help me with the last step. Notice we don't do any vertical shifting here, but the period is 2 pi over b. So again, something we have to remember, 2 pi over b, which is the number in front here. That's the b. So pi over 2. That's going to be our period. And then the phase shift itself is right. Phase shift comes from the c. It's positive, so it's actually moving it to the left. It's a pi over 4. Pi over 4. That's why we needed to factor that out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to graph this, and we'll see. What I'm going to do first is let's just graph the original with the graphing calculator, and then we'll use the graphing tool, and actually we'll do that. Okay, so let's go here, 2 sine 4x plus pi. I just do the original. You could also, one way of sort of checking it is you could graph this other one that we factored out the 4 and check to make sure that they're the same graph. That would be helpful. I guess does it really matter whether we're in radians or degree? Probably not, but we're in radians, which is good. I'm going to do a zoom trig to get the window looking how it sort of should. And I can kind of see here it's going up, not just up to 1, but up to 2. There's its amplitude. Remember, it sort of cuts it in half. So there's the amplitude of 2. I'm seeing that. If I go back to my window, I know that I'm going from 0 to 2 pi, actually negative 2 pi to 2 pi. So what that helps me see is that 0 to 2 pi is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 periods instead of just, or 4 iterations of the bottom. So, you know, down, up, down. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's supposed to be 2 between 2 pi, right? So we've got 4, so the period is pi over 2 instead of just being 2 pi, right? 2 pi goes up, comes down, goes up. So the regular sine curve. I guess the easier way maybe to see it is if you just graph, we're going to compare to sine x. You'll see that it goes up, comes down, there. So that's a period of 2 pi when the b is just 1, right? Period of 2 pi. We've got a period of pi over 2. So it's really cut it in fourths, right? 4 different periods instead of just 1 period. Okay, so that makes sense. Phase shift is also, we see well, it is shifted. It's harder to see it. So this one has been shifted by a quarter phase shift, quarter pi, right, because of that. So it makes sense. Okay, and then let's go ahead while we're here and make sure we know how to do this. So I'll put these in, and so we can check it live. Again, I do always check these. I think I just need to type pi, and it turns it to pi over to, there's also a pi down there, but just pi gets you the same effect over 4, a little bit quicker. Let's enlarge the graph. Let's see if we can do this. So we want a sine tool. So we ask for the sine tool. Do that. Amplitude, we just changed that to 2. The period, let's change it to pi over 2. And again, I can just go pi divided by 2. Vertical shift, we didn't do any vertical shifts, but that we did a horizontal shift. We are going to the left. I think we have to put that we want to shift it negative pi over 4, which is kind of backwards. Maybe we need this phase shift. Yes. See, now it's matching up with what we have. That's the beauty of having the graphing calculator. See, we graphed it. So when we get to this point, we know what our graph is supposed to look like, and yeah, that's matching up. So we had to put in a horizontal shift of negative pi over 4. So actually what we need here is negative pi over 4. Well, I can't do that until I save my graph. I'm going to come back here because this needs to be negative, and I'll show you. Negative. I think that'll say everything's good. 100% score. And the reason is this is defined in terms of a plus. It's going to the left. So it goes to the left. Phase shift, exact numbers, x is needed, or pi is needed for integers, numbers, and expression. Since it's going to the left, we do a negative.